Behind every sermon, every prayer, every song, and every act of service lies a story of struggle and perseverance. Let's explore the unseen struggles that shape the lives of those who answer the call. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. What happens when the calling gets tough? This is the weight of the calling. A minister is a servant or an ambassador of God entrusted with the spreading of the gospel and serving others. But they do face numerous challenges. Let's narrow them down from the list and up the stairs. Navigating change. Changing societal values and norms, managing transitions within the congregation, applying biblical principles to contemporary issues, and also having to embrace new methods for ministry. The reality of this challenge is that you're still expected to minister, you're still expected to give a sermon, and they're waiting for your service. Your congregation might not understand your language. You might need a translator, and if you're singing, you might need a plan B song list. Be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Building trust. As a minister, you want to build authentic relationships and genuine connections, trying to be honest and open in communication, demonstrating reliability and follow through. This can be quite tough because you do not know who is who. Some people are just not genuine with their support, and some relationships are just not healthy for ministry. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I have become all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Managing expectations. Balancing diverse congregational needs and expectations, setting healthy limits as a minister, setting achievable objectives for ministry, as well as articulating visions and plans. Expectations are always going to be there, and this is very challenging for every minister. Managing these expectations while still depending on the Holy Spirit to lead you. Come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Time management. Balancing multiple responsibilities such as sermon preparation, counseling, administrative tasks, and community engagement. You also have a job, a business, family responsibilities. Maybe you're a mentor. Balancing all of these responsibilities is just quite a task. Self-care. Prioritizing physical health and rest, managing stress and emotions, spiritual nourishment, surrounding yourself with encouraging relationships. Ministers often forget that as ministers, they also need to be ministered to. We need to pause and just take a break and seek God's rejuvenation. Emotional toll in ministry. Emotional exhaustion from prolonged exposure and dealing with negative feedback. This challenge is very delicate because it leads to exhaustion and decreased motivation, strained relationships, and reduced ability to minister. selflessness, and sacrifice in ministry. Leading with humility and service is never easy. Having that sacrificial love and prioritizing others is quite a challenge. Spiritual warfare. There is satanic opposition in every minister's life. Every Christian goes through temptations, but the kind of temptations that ministers go through are a double portion kind of temptations. Recognizing Satan's attempts to hinder ministry and seeking God's protection and guidance, putting on the spiritual armor is always a big of a challenge. They face attacks in every level of ministry, and it intensifies as the journey continues. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Criticism and conflict. Facing opposition, negative feedback, and conflict from congregation members, community, or personal relationships. This one is a serious challenge and leads to a minister's breakdown. I mean, isolation, spiritual fatigue. Prayer life can also be affected, and they start to doubt about their calling. The fear of failure. Fearing failure to fulfill God's calling, making mistakes, or not meeting expectations, and the pressure to perform is another big challenge. Doubt and uncertainties. Struggling with faith, confidence, and certainty in ministry, facing questions about God's plans. There will always be whispers from the enemy bringing doubtful thoughts, but we are required to be strong in faith. The weight of responsibility. Feeling accountable for others' spiritual well-being, decisions, and outcomes. Ministers have this burden of having to check on others, praying for them, helping them to make right decisions in life. Financial challenges. Financial struggle can be overwhelming, but they've also driven us to pray more, trust more, and innovate in our ministry. This challenge is very sensitive and causes ministers to hide the fact that they are struggling financially. This challenge affects ministry effectiveness, outreach, and personal well-being. The pressure of preparation. There is prayer and fasting, making sure that you're spiritually prepared. Sermon preparation, which includes studying the scriptures and staying relevant to your audience. Song list preparation, selecting songs that complement the sermon, enhance worship, and engage the congregation. Using your time properly to get prepared. This is a challenge. The pressure of leadership. A challenge of appearing strong and composed while hiding personal struggles, leading by example, maintaining a certain image even when facing hell on earth, making important decisions and shouldering responsibility for the congregation or organization. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly thereof will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Loneliness and isolation. The weight of carrying heavy burdens alone. Pressure of witnessing. Sometimes witnessing means stepping out of your comfort zone. There is potential for rejection, criticism, or even hostility when sharing one's faith with unbelievers. It's a challenge of finding the right approach to share the gospel in a way that is respectful and effective. Being prepared to address common doubts and questions that unbelievers may have. This is a heavyweight challenge that requires ministers to first build trust with unbelievers before sharing the gospel and share experiences and testimonies in order to connect with unbelievers and depend on God to work on their hearts. Dealing with tough decisions. Sometimes tough decisions mean saying no to people or opportunities. It can be leaving unhealthy relationships. It's important to set boundaries and prioritize one's own well-being, even if it means distancing oneself from the toxic relationships. Decisions like changing wardrobe and appearance. It's a challenge of balancing personal style with the need to set a good example and how to make decisions that honor God and respect the congregation. Also, decisions like living the worship lifestyle, which reflects one's values and faith. Very important to seek God's guidance and wisdom when making tough decisions. Trusted friends and mentors can also help with this. Also important to focus on developing good character and integrity. The pressure of praying for others. It's important to intercede for others, including congregation members, friends, and family, trying to meet the emotional, spiritual, and physical needs of others while managing one's own needs. But it's a challenge of having unmet needs while praying for and meeting the needs of others. The risk of burnout and exhaustion that can come from pouring out one's energy and resources for others. Praying for others can be emotionally draining. We ought to trust in God's provision. The pressure of influence. Ministers often feel the pressure to be influential and reach many souls with the gospel, and they worry of not being effective or impactful enough. While still seeking to influence others for Christ, it's important to trust God's power and provision in ministry. Acts 1:8. But you shall receive power after the Holy Spirit is come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the outermost part of the earth. The pressure of social media. The pressure to constantly create and share content, including music, videos, and updates. There is always negative feedback on social media, including comments and reviews. In the minister/singer perspective, there's always the pressure to release new music and content, and the expectation to produce high-quality work. It's important to seek guidance from the Holy Spirit in creative work and how to balance this with the demands of social media. But all in all, fellow ministers, there is hope. We are not alone in this calling. God is with us, strengthening and guiding us. Let's remember it's not about our ability, but about God's power working through us. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And Isaiah 40:31. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Have you experienced a similar challenge in your ministry? Share with us on the comments below.